Thank you so much for joining the We Don't Play podcast show today, Sonia. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Favor. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited that you're here with us today. We've met in person twice, in a
Yes.
span of 2 years. Shout out to Creative Con in Chicago. And we've done a lot of great stuff. You also had your book launch, Congratulations to that. That's a huge achievement.
Well, thank you so much. And I was honored to see you there at opening night when they did the book launch. It took me 20 years to write this book, and it meant a lot that they were, helping me celebrate this milestone for myself.
Yeah, it was amazing. Also seeing your beautiful parents there smiling, it was a moment that was that cherished moment that you just cannot miss. It's those pictures that you can tell the generations after that, hey, look at what happened over here and look at the lives that are being changed because of this moment,
Right. Thank you so much. And thank you also for, what you've provided at Creative Con. Definitely have been looking at ways to put my book on Pinterest.
Oh, yeah.
As you've been talking about Pinterest, I know that's a big topic of yours now. And, not now, but been a topic of yours rather. But you've also been very good about also other facets of business. I remember even last Creative Con, you shared a lot last year too.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The connections are always endless. And I feel like right now, people are at this state where they want to also provide value, like you have also provided value for people. And value is something that people want to see as an exchange of something that they cherish. And a lot of times we don't know what to cherish, to keep, to take, to give, to not give. And you've given so much. And I feel like people would love to know, how did this all start? Where was the beginning of Sonia's journey?
So the beginning of the book writing journey began in 2005. I went to a book fair in Chicago with my parents, and I didn't really think much about it. I thought, okay, I'm just going to go there. I'm going to see what's out there, maybe buy a couple books, maybe get a drink, listen to some live music, things that you might do at your typical, any Chicago fest that's going on, or any fair really. And, but when I went there, I was awestruck by how many authors were sharing their personal stories. It was more than just about, a book fair, rather. It was about them being able to provide their stories, their truths about why they wrote certain books the way they wrote. And they shared their stories of war and trauma, and some very real hardships that they've gone through. And when I left, I was very overwhelmed by, just how inspiring that environment was. And so for me, I was like, the first thought that came to my mind as we were exiting Grant Park was, oh my God, I need to write my story. There is no way. If they're telling their story, why can't I? So the story I wrote, it's called Dropped in a Maze. It's a book I wrote. So basically, I was diagnosed with high functioning autism back in 2002 when I had turned 20 that year. And growing up, it felt very much like being blindfolded in the maze of life. I didn't understand, socially, emotionally, how to connect, how to be in a school environment at all. I was rejected at large by peers, both at school and outside in the community, just because I just couldn't fit in. And I struggled with sensory issues. I struggled with change. I struggled with learning too. I was slow to learn. So fun fact for everybody, and I wrote about this and Dropped in a Maze as well, I failed second grade. Now, people may be asking, how do you fail second grade? I really don't know the answer to it. All I know is that I was just able to pull that off. But I just talked about just lessons learned along the way, both pre and post diagnosis. So it talks about various aspects of navigating, right? Learning to navigate different kinds of friendships. How do you navigate toxic friendships? How do you navigate therapeutic relationships? As you know, truth of the matter is, I've been through different various therapists throughout my life, and some of them were very unhealthy themselves, right? And so when you are not a healthy person, you can't really help somebody else then who's coming to you in that capacity for help. And when I talk about healthy, I'm not talking about, oh, can you climb up 100 flights of stairs without losing your breath. I'm talking about more, are you healthy mentally yourself? Like in the sense of, do you have your own stuff you're working on versus are you projecting it out onto your clients? And, I had a couple instances where that was the case and I didn't understand it and I was in a vulnerable position. But as I reflect back and learn throughout, I was able then to better pick and choose or better navigate when something is working and when something is not, and leaving quicker. Understanding if something is toxic, leaving it quicker, like a friendship, navigating career, loneliness, ostracism. I talk about real emotions, but I also talk about the lessons learned along the way. And I think this, whether you're on the spectrum or not, this book is something that can be relatable for everyone because it talks about various different aspects of the human experience.
This is deep, Sonia.
Oh, thank you. I know, deep, and it's like, oh, I know it's probably something you're like, whoops, wait, what? What's going on?
No, you're totally right on that. It's a very important thing to factor in because there's so many things that when people are reading, they want to read and go understand, like, what was the life like? Because people are living vicariously through characters, because they want to know, how did this happen? If it was me, what would I have done? People are being in those mental blocks, if I can call it, where they can't even have a writer's block moment out of that because they're already into that so deep that they can't even think outside of that box they're in. And you were able to come out of that, give people a reason for them to even read and have an experience for themselves. What have you been experiencing so far since the launch that has also shown you that this is the pathway that I'm sure 100% I knew that this was what I needed to do?
So I got a couple of messages from people. One was from somebody whom I never met before. She happened to read my book and she talked about how she herself got diagnosed late on the autism spectrum. And we were able to relate from also a cultural experience in the sense of both of us are from the same cultural background. And another person, a friend of mine who is a therapist out in Philly, he wrote to me and said that, he found it very helpful and he even wrote a review about it. And, and also I just feel like I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from others who have read it so far, and people seem to have really enjoyed the book. And I think a lot of times too, and I guess the biggest one was, so my publisher, Motivation Champs, Dominic Domansky, he told me that the editor that he used in my book used to be a teacher. And one thing she said to Dominic Domansky was that she wished she would have had the book when she was a teacher. So, I mean, it is making impact in the way that people are, I think getting a perspective, an insider perspective of what it was like, and understanding, that, there is no look to autism. There is no way that people have to be, when you meet somebody, right, it's not about them having to act on cue for people to understand what autism is. Autism is a neurological difference. We call it neurodiversity for a reason, because of the way our brains process information and process communication and process social cues and process just cognitively in general, right? And I feel like, when people really read the story and can get through what are the thoughts, what are the feelings, what was the, what were the interactions like, what was the input output, right, of what was going on. Then people can understand that this is a real experience, this is a valuable experience and a valuable learning lesson that everybody can be more, I guess, attuned to.
You know, as you were speaking, something came to my mind, and I was thinking like how the person that wished she had that book then when she was a teacher, it's like those moments that you want to relive life, but you want to live life in a new way because you have a new idea of how life actually should be for your business or for your personal development.
Sure. Right. And I feel like it definitely has helped me, speaking of like personal and business development, it helps me do what I do, right? Having this book, being on the autism spectrum has helped me do what I do. It's made me more of a compassionate person. So that's what helps me be a good podcast host. That's what makes me be a good therapist. It helps me be a good therapist because of my autism. And I like to use that as my superpower personally. I think that because of being on the spectrum, I was able to be, like a very dedicated runner and a dedicated, like, I love to invest in the stock market. I like to do these things. I like to be focused on my interests and very, and it allowed me places where I feel like I could find some grounding and footing in.
This is good. This is good. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that, Sonia. It got me thinking too. And I was like, yeah, that sometimes I'm reading, I'm like, if I knew this 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years ago, would I be where I am today? Or am I in a better place to now take that and now move on to the next step? And now that got me thinking too about you now in the book, because 20 years have come. Now we have something, it's out there. People are living the dream and they're also living through your experience. Now, what does the next 20 years look like for Sonia?
Continuing with getting the message out there and advocating, and definitely continuing with podcast hosting. And I'm in my season 2. It's called On the Spectrum with Sonia. Definitely. And this is where you can come in favor. Help me out. Finding different platforms, I guess, to promote more. Now, I know you talk about Pinterest, but if you have ideas, I love to hear them on here too.
Oh yeah, I'm all in. I will help you out. Yes, definitely.
I'm on a stall because, literally, I was talking about this today with Brian Swift, whom you also know.
Yes.
And I was saying, and he gets my idea and vision too. And believe me, I've been talking to people to try to pitch this out more as I guess building more business in this area. I think, that's just kind of where I'm at now. Just, I don't know how to, and finding other platforms, like you say, you talk about different platforms and how to utilize them more. Like, I'm already on the general social media and things like that, but I guess expanding, just developing more in that sense. Oh, more speaking opportunities. There you go. And maybe traveling to speak at places could be one. Just keep continuing to help others and continue with my therapy and grow more clients and things like that too.
I love that. You got me thinking too, Sonia. This is like a brainstorming session in a way. For some people, what did we just get into? This is really,
why not?
Good. I love
this is Favor's superpower too, right? He's good at brainstorming.
I love it. I just got to think about it, with the podcast and also with the book and speaking on stages across the world and connecting with foundations and connections, corporations that talk about these things and teach them in schools, at hospitals, teach them at let's say training grounds, places that people want to learn these things. And then the book now becomes the syllabus. It becomes the core value product that people need. Like when you're buying a textbook for a school to graduate, you need this book so that you can also get those facts, figures, and also findings to make sure that you can get out there. So yeah, with Pinterest involved, we'll definitely make sure that you can get up there for sure, Sonia.
Okay, so Pinterest, that seems to be your niche then, the Pinterest.
Yes. It is.
Yeah, Pinterest is, I never understood of it like that, but because I always saw Pinterest in terms of like people putting up pictures of like ideas. So let's say you want to get your nails done, right? So people would have lots of ideas on Pinterest of different like designs or something, right? But like, and I've always seen it like in terms of like outfit ideas or haircuts or hair color, right? Like things that people would look into. But I never really thought of it in like business ways until you had brought something up, and that really changed my perspective because I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a whole different game changer. And Pinterest is where people can really connect, especially with you and the chapters where people are learning from you, getting a quote. That quote turns them into reading a chapter, from reading a chapter to reading the actual book. It's a whole experience in itself. And I know that definitely connecting with people that need this information are living the dream, but they also want to live knowing that there's someone that they can live through and learn from, because that's where you now come in as the expert and giving them that direction to help them get better at what they're doing.
That's a really interesting perspective, and I like that idea. And so you're saying that, from what I'm hearing then, it's like Pinterest really using that really to be a catalyst for kickoff as well.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It is. Wow. Sonia, you've definitely brought a lot of great nuggets to the people listening, and someone who is really paying attention to this episode. What's the one thing you want them to take away when they pick up the book and they're ready to open up the page or even listen to the podcast? What should they be expecting so they can set the mood to receive?
That it's okay to be who you are, and that everybody has a story, and your struggles don't limit you, but rather it's an opportunity for you to use that to define you in a way that is empowering. And this is one of the things, my main message in my own podcast on the spectrum with Sonia. It's about having people, when we talk about autism spectrum and mental health challenges, but we also highlight stories of anybody who's overcome any significant adversity, so that and can leave the listeners feeling encouraged, with hope and inspired and connected in a world especially that tries to keep us disconnected from one another. I feel like this is now like using our stories, using our platforms, it should be in a way that it's done to where people feel more that they can help one another. Because more often than not, of course you get your keyboard warriors and people bullying a lot now online with their words and insults and things. But I think that, I want to try to use my platforms, and I like to see other people who use their platforms for encouragement and connection and love.
I love that. That's where it all starts from. And I think from there, people can find their way because there's more room to grow and there's more experience they can have, all together. Wow. Thank you so much again for Sonia for coming to We Don't Play podcast show to share this with us. I know some people want to connect with you. They want to learn from you, and they also potentially want to work with you too, so they can also get in alignment. How can they do that today?
So you can reach out to me. On Instagram, my handle is Chand_Sonia, CHAND_SONIA. I also, the book is called Dropped in a Maze, My Life on the Spectrum from Outcast to Outstanding. And that's available online on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Strand Books, and other major book retailers. And then my podcast, On the Spectrum with Sonia, that's available on all audio platforms. And also people can email me, sonia.krishna.chand@gmail.com.
I love that. Thank you once again for being with us today. Please connect with Sonia. You know what to do. Get the description link in the box and make sure you inbox and send a message so that she can respond back to you, and you definitely get your answers solved and your experiences had. Thank you again for joining us on the We Don't Play podcast show, Sonia, today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.